Just realize, everybody is here to party.
Oh, yeah. I know. Have you had the gaming globulin shot, Dave? Yeah, after an accidental needle stick? Yeah. I know. It's like they're trying to inject warmed up maple syrup through a cocktail straw. I mean, it burns going in, makes your arm feel like you bench press a refrigerator. Not good. So don't get stuck is the moral of that story. Good afternoon, folks. Dr. Jones here, still covered in contrast, still collimated, still asking why nobody warned us that this job wasn't just hard, it is physically dangerous. Welcome to episode 4 of the Excellence in Radiology Network. Today we're talking about something every student deserves to know before they sign their student loan paperwork. They need to know that this career just might break your body before it pays off your student debt. I'm not kidding. So let's talk about the live, the clean job, right? People think it's safe. They think it's neat, it's orderly. Hey, it's tech driven. How bad can it be? You're not pushing stretchers around. You're not getting dirty. You're just working in climate controlled rooms, right? What they don't tell you is you're going to be lifting thousands of pounds of patients every shift. And you're going to twist into these awkward positions trying to help your patient achieve that perfect imaging position before running across the room to hit the exposure button. In the ER, you're going to get punched and kicked. You're going to get spat on, maybe drooled on, and called every name in the book. You're going to absorb little microdoses of radiation every time you have to hold a baby in place, so you only have to image once because your picostat's been out in the repair shop for 6 months. Forget about the barium enemas that backfire on you because you pull the tip out before dropping the enema bag below the table level. True story, I'm not kidding. You learn that the hard way, but you only have to have it happen once and you learn, trust me. I'm telling you, Dave, scrubs should be brown for a reason. That's what I'm telling you. So that's just the physical side. So let's expand this reality check to include the invisible work. So let me tell you what they forgot to mention during your program orientation. This is the stuff that doesn't make it into the textbooks. It doesn't make it into that shiny career brochure. You are going to be the person responsible for calming that combative patient who has no idea where they are, while at the same time you're trying to hold their arm in that perfect externally rotated position while trying not to get your cassette crimped up under the mattress. You are going to be the one who has to wedge a trauma board into your CT gantry while the trauma team's yelling for vitals and the patient's vomiting everywhere and nobody even glances your way until your scout image comes up, right? You are going to carry the emotional weight on top of all that physical weight. And every pediatric case, you're going to feel it. Every code blue where you stand quietly at the edge, you're going to feel it. That gets lodged somewhere deep inside your mental Rolodex. And you'll be expected to just adapt in seconds, from fluoro to the OR to the ER to the outpatients who think they're at a day spa. And when your shoulder starts to flare up or your knee locks from standing all day on concrete, well, you'll hear, make sure to stretch. And maybe if you're really lucky, they'll hand you an ergonomic poster during Rad Tech week, rolled up like a little participation trophy and taped to a free cookie. So here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about repetitive strain injuries, MRI magnet hazards, that lovely radiation creep, psychological trauma, because that's a big one that's not talked about. Workplace violence also happens, not talked about. Chemical exposure and the mental health effects of seeing things that nobody wants to talk about out loud. Well, we're going to say the quiet part out loud today. And we're going to do it before another student walks in the lab thinking this job is physically safe just because it looks clean on the outside. That's next after this back-breaking, spine-twisting, eye-fatiguing, obscene profit timeout. Welcome to X-Ray School Fantasy Camp, where the future is bright, the scrubs are clean, and your spine never hurts. Here at Fantasy Camp, you'll learn all the magical things that never happen in a real radiology department. Things like patients who always follow directions, equipment that calibrates itself, and techs who finish on time, hydrated, and emotionally fulfilled. What we don't teach at Fantasy Camp: rotator cuff tears from dragging portables down cracked ER tiles, PTSD from 4 a.m. trauma codes, emotional shutdown after your fourth unsuccessful code in 48 hours, or the microdose radiation you're absorbing because Dave still won't fix the tube stand collimator lock. And don't worry about shielding. Here at Fantasy Camp, everything is digital, everyone is compliant, and the only thing you'll ever get exposed to is validation. X-Ray School Fantasy Camp, because nothing ruins enrollment like the truth. Now enrolling students who think they'll still be sitting behind a desk all day.
I just realized everybody is here to party.
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Ron Jones here, and this segment is brought to you by your aching shoulders, your shot lower back, and your worn out knees that have just about had enough. By the way, everything I'm talking about today, you'll find it in a post I wrote years ago at the Radiologic Technologist.com. This is nothing new, we're just finally saying it out loud. So we're going to talk about the physical cost nobody talks about. Now let's get one thing straight. Radiologic technology is a manual labor job in hospital scrubs. Yeah, you've got computers and we've got touchscreen panels. We've even got auto positioning, but guess what? None of that lifts the patient. None of that adjusts for someone combative or unconscious. None of that makes up for the fact that you are the movement team when no one else shows up. And it happens a lot. All right, let's do the top 5 physical hazards backed by experience in reverse countdown. Number 5, standing for 12 hours at a time. Or even worse, sprinting between departments while they call it a light day. Meanwhile, your Apple Watch is closing its rings, but your arches file for workman's comp. I mean, think about it. If you're getting the recommended 8 hours of sleep, and you subtract your drive time, a solid chunk of your waking hours being spent upright, bearing weight, not walking, not sitting, but standing, and often wearing lead. Gravity pulling straight down through your spine, your hips, your knees, your ankles, and what's under you? Usually, a hard tile floor. A cheap rubber mat maybe, or a gel insert they ordered off of a hospital vending catalog. That's why I wrote the best shoes for RadTech's post on the blog, because eventually your arches will need a support group of their own. That's right, because you're constantly wearing it in fluoro, you're wearing it in an interventional. These vests are so unbalanced. Some of them have a one shoulder sling. Then you add a thyroid shield and you are basically a weighted vest test subject. I mean, Superman had a cape, but you've got lumbar compression. And don't get me started on those 2-piece sets. You're stuck mixing and matching whatever sweat-stained apron still hanging on the rack. And whatever you do, for the love of Pete, do not wear the radiologist's apron. It will summon the demon from the depths of the hospital morgue in the basement. I'm telling you, I don't know what it is. They just can't stand it. Don't touch it. Number 3, wrist, hand, and elbow fatigue. Raising wall buckies up and down, wrestling the overhead tube into that exact right position 30 times an hour, contorting your body like a pretzel to hold the paddles and mammo, reaching into the bore of the CT gantry or snag a left marker that's gone rogue in the table slot. Add in torque from hand-injected contrast or dragging mobile machines over doorway thresholds, and it's no wonder tech elbows sound like popcorn. Number 2, lower back pain. Dave, you ever tried to maneuver a 450-pound post-op patient into like a 30-degree oblique while they're actively vomiting and the transport team ghosted you? Yeah, well, that's why by the end of your shift, you're walking like a 90-year-old linebacker. We're not made of steel. It's more like patchwork of pulled muscles, regret, and whatever Advil hasn't worn off yet. Or how about solo boosting 25 morning portable patients in the ICU and CCU before 9 a.m.? You'll find muscles you didn't even know existed and lose feelings in the ones you used to rely on. And the number one physical hazard, shoulder injuries. From portables to holding C-arms to reaching over bariatric patients, you're going to stretch and twist and contort into angles that would make a yoga instructor say, maybe we should sit this one out. And then there's the gurney marathon, pushing patients across the entire hospital because transport's backed up again. Doesn't matter if it's a 5-minute walk or a 5-hallway haul. If it's got wheels and a patient, guess who's pushing it? You are. And guess what body part pays for it? Your shoulders and your back. And here's the thing, it's not one injury, it's the slow grind. It's the wear and tear, it's the stuff nobody writes a report on, but it follows you home night after night after night. You get home and you just collapse. Your knees are clicking, your wrists are buzzing, you pop ibuprofen like Skittles, and you still come back the next day because the job simply doesn't get done without you. But this is why it gets ignored, because it's not visible, because it doesn't happen all at once, because you don't flatline, you erode. And because the system doesn't count pain, not your pain anyway, it just counts your productivity. Let that one sink in. And you don't get thanked for scanning 30 patients, but if your productivity slips, it'll show up on an admin report, and someone in a meeting you weren't invited to will ask why you're suddenly so slow. Words will be said about picking up the pace, but you'll be written up if you take a 2-minute break to stretch your back out while the injector cycles. So coming up, we're going to talk about the other hazards, the psychological hazards, the emotional fatigue, the things you can't wear a shield for. That's next after one more ergonomically neglected, policy ignored, silently endured, obscene profit timeout. Feeling sore? Not sure why your neck clicks when you turn it? Then congratulations, it's time for Ergo Optional, the hospital-approved injury prevention training no one remembered to schedule. Here at Ergo Optional, you'll enjoy a mandatory PowerPoint that mentions posture once, stretching posters laminated in 2011, and ergonomic mats so thin you'll swear they're just stickers. We believe in injury prevention, but not enough to buy anything that actually prevents injuries. And remember, if you do get hurt, you can report it, sure, but we'll still make sure you scan 22 patients before you fill out the form. Ergo Optional, because workers' comp paperwork is a lot easier than replacing you. Now available as a free handout during RadTech Week. Rolled up next to your pizza coupon and that inspirational poster nobody hung up.
Is here to party.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Dr. Ron Jones here, back again, professionally composed, sarcastically licensed. This is the EIR network, back again. Now we talk about the dangers no shielding can protect you from. So this job gets in your head, make no mistake. And nobody warned us. Nobody told us what it would feel like the first time we had to scan a child after a SNAT. That's a suspected non-accidental trauma for those of you reviewing requisitions from the posh corner office in the C-suite, where the closest you've been to a trauma is reading a staff memo. Nobody prepared us for holding the hand of a dying cancer patient during a port placement. Nobody explained that imaging the body sometimes breaks the mind, because we see it all, but we don't process it because we can't. There's no time. We're the only tech within a whole hospital of patients waiting on us. We scan, we reset, we scan again, You'll carry cases you'll never talk about. Let me give you the real list, the one that doesn't show up in the curriculum. There's the toddler that you scanned after a snap. After a snap, that's a suspected non-accidental. You know what it is. There's the teenager who coded in CT. There's the patient whose X-ray revealed the one thing that would kill them and no one has told them yet. There's the crying family you had to walk past without saying a word. There's the night shift that was quiet until it wasn't, and you still think about it 5 years later. I actually, Dave, I wrote about that one on a blog. There's a piece called A Day in the Life, where I talk about being called in the middle of the night, walking into a code and hearing a dying man's last words to his son. You just don't forget those shifts. You just carry them on. They don't leave bruises. They just live under your badge. The emotional cost of staying professional. See, you're trained to stay composed, to be efficient, to be invisible. You're not allowed to break down. You're not allowed to pause. You're not allowed to say, that one got to me, because we're imaging, we're technical, we're not clinical until it's a code and they need help moving the body. So when does emotional exhaustion become the norm? This is the part that doesn't get tracked in HR. It's not about call hours or patient volume. It's about how many silent goodbyes you've been in the room for. It's about the things you've seen and had no one to tell. It's about swallowing emotion so many times that one day it just stops surfacing. And you don't feel tired, you feel numb. I know we've got a little dark in this last segment, but this stuff has to come to the surface. We've spent years pretending we're fine, powering through, keeping it buried. We've got to stop hiding it, because if we don't talk about it, if we don't say these things out loud, the folks in the C-suite will never know. And like it or not, those are the same people who determine our value once a year behind closed doors in the meetings we're not invited to. So coming up in our final segment, how to speak the truth about these dangers, how to protect yourself, how to stop pretending you're fine just because you still show up. Because if nobody else is going to say it, we will. That's next, after one final trauma-filled, badge-muffled, mental health ignored, obscene profit timeout. Feeling overwhelmed, crushed by trauma, overexertion, and the unspoken grief of working in healthcare, then it's time for resilience training, the hospital's favorite response to burnout it helped create. With resilience training, you'll enjoy a laminated pocket card of affirmations like, pain is temporary, productivity is forever, a 45-minute PowerPoint that tells you stress is a mindset, and access to a meditation Zoom call that no one has ever had time to attend. We won't increase staffing. We won't update safety protocols. We won't even fix that one chair that still collapses when you sit in it. But we will give you a workbook and a journal and a peppermint. Resilience training, because it's easier to print a poster about mindset than to give you the time and support to recover from what this job puts you through. Now available in a branded tote bag during RadTech Week, next to the pizza and the unused self-care checklist.
I just realized everybody is here to party.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Ron Jones. Dr. Ron Jones here, still standing, still scanning, still wearing a lead apron and a smile that says, I'm fine, even when you're anything but. This is the EIR Network, and this is the final segment where we're going to say the thing nobody wants to admit. This career is hard, and pretending otherwise isn't protecting anyone. It's actually setting them up. This job breaks you if you're not ready. You will get hurt physically, emotionally, quietly, not every day, but over time, little by little. The back pain, the shoulder that locks, the case you can't stop replaying in your mind over and over again. The competency you passed while holding in your tears, that smile you fake in front of the students because you don't want to scare them off. You need them, right? What we need to start saying is, look, let's stop sugarcoating this career. Let's stop acting like it's safer because it happens in clean rooms. Let's stop acting like trauma just bounces off you because you wear a badge and scrubs. Let's start teaching lifting techniques, real debriefing, injury prevention that's more than a PowerPoint. Teach how to ask for help, how to say, that one messed me up a little, without being labeled unprofessional. We need that. We need honesty, because silence isn't strength, it's a slow collapse. And students deserve honesty. If you're an educator, tell your students the truth. Tell them this job will wear on them. Tell them it will get in their head, but also tell them that we're not weak for feeling it. Tell them how to protect themselves. Tell them how we decompress. Tell them how to stay whole, because we're not losing techs from mistakes. We are losing techs from slow, untreated harm that nobody acknowledged until it was too late. You're not a machine. You are a clinician, despite what they tell you. You're not a button pusher. You're not a background actor. You are a trauma-ready, emotionally battle-tested, radiation managing professional, and that comes with a price. So stop acting like you're made of lead. Start acting like you deserve to be protected, just like the patient you